Hi, I'm Jim Stucker. I'd like to give you an overview of the major attributes of the Lady Butters scoring system version 3.0. The Lady Butters scoring system is a Microsoft Excel-based application. It should run on any recent version of Excel for Windows or Excel for the Macintosh. I created it on my Mac, but designed it to run on the Lady Butters window-based Toshiba laptop. I demo it here on my Mac because the screen is larger and the presentation software more flexible. I created version 1 during the summer of 2009 to be used during the Lady Putters 2009-2010 season. Their season consists of some 30 Wednesday morning events beginning in November and lasting until sometime in May. Over the first year, I made a few updates, removed a number of bugs, and the application has been working ever since. However, versions 1 and 2 were set up to work only through the 2019-2020 season. So during the summer of 2017, I rewrote much of the code and expanded the templates to accept data for another 10 years, up through the 2029-2030 season. Much of the code was rewritten for version 3, so it should be more efficient and easier to use. But be on the lookout, especially for the first few months, for bugs, errors, and inconsistencies. When you open the Lady Putters scoring sheet file, it displays the welcome sheet. This is one of some 34 worksheets in the Excel workbook. Some of the sheets are similar to the welcome sheet. They display control windows with buttons that you can click on to initiate actions such as importing data, calculating handicaps and winners, and preparing reports. Some of these sheets also have on the side other helper buttons that help you navigate through the program and perform some housekeeping tasks. Some of the other sheets are simply signs that ask the user for patience as some calculations are being made. One of the most important sheets is the parameter sheet, which contains all of the dates and all of the other parameters that are used in the calculations. The other, perhaps the most important sheet, is called the working sheet. It is our database. It contains the names, the handicaps, and the flights for all of the members of the Lady Putters. And it contains all of their scores for the weeks they participated last year. And it contains their scores for this year as they are accumulated. And it contains the number of birds that they post each week through this year when they play. Tying this all together, making it all work together, is the code. Some 15 code modules containing more than 66 subroutines and made up of more than 2,500 lines of code. But enough of these details. Let's look at the big picture and focus on how these screens and codes work together. Let's look at how we will use this application. The welcome sheet displays the season 2017-2018 and the date, November 1st, 2017, the first week of our new season. To change the date, you use the drop-down menu. For example, December 20th would be the 8th week. You'd be set for that. Let's go back to the first week. Change the date with the drop-down menu. Later I'll show you how to change the season as we work through the next 12 years. When you're satisfied that the date, the season, the week is correct, then you press the continue button. This moves you to page 2, which is the control center for the action you will perform most every week. First, we need to print some sign-in sheets to register the ladies who will come to putt on Wednesday. Clicking on this button produces our first printable form. It lists the names of all the ladies on the roster and shows whether their dues are up to date or not. You can print directly from this form and then use the sheets in a sign-in. Let's go to the next one. After play is completed on a Wednesday morning, you enter the scores earned by the ladies who participated that day. Pushing the button here moves you to the working worksheet, the database for our program, and it positions you on that sheet in that window so that you can enter both the score and the number of birds earned by each lady on this date. Using the tab key moves you back and forth between scores, birdies, scores, birdies, scores, birdies. Note that the other dates and columns on the working sheet are frozen during data entry. When you finish with data entry, you should be sure to push this button here. It will unfreeze the columns and dates, allowing them to be used in other computations, and then return you to page 2. After you have entered the scores and birds, you are ready to prepare the basic reports for the week. To illustrate these reports, we need some real data, so I'm going to switch back to version of LPSS from May 3rd, 2017, the 26th week of last season. First, we need to identify and list the winners. The Lady Putters recognizes both the ladies who tie for the lowest score and for those who tie for the second lowest score, both gross and net. Pressing the button generates this winners report. This report shows by flight the ladies who shot the lowest scores, the second lowest scores. Here we see that in flight 1, one lady shot a 37, one lady shot a 38. On the net side, and these are ladies who did not qualify for winning the gross awards, 2 ladies posted a 38 and 1 posted a 42. A 36 and a 40, 37s, 38s. Here's 140 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 41s. Given the way the Lady Putter structures its payouts, we will probably have a different number of winners and a different amount of total payout each week. Incidentally, that posed a problem in creating this form. I had to design it to be expandable, to allow for those occasional cases where lots and lots of putters tied for low or for second low. Lots to see here, but let's move on. Next, let's list the ladies who got birds. Same procedure, but a simpler report. And finally, let's take a look at the cash flow for the week. This is a new form, and you can use it or not as you see fit. This form keeps a running account of your cash or bank balance and updates it each week using information generated by calculations involved in creating the winner's report and the birds report. It keeps a running account of your cash or bank balance and updates it each week using information generated by calculations involved in creating the winner's report and the birds report. So you must generate those reports before you can do this report. We show the beginning balance, add in the receipts, weekly pay at $3, show the payouts for the birds, for the winners, lowest, next lowest, get a total payout, add or subtract that from the beginning balance to have our ending balance. This report, like the others, can be changed, adjusted, amended, or whatever before you print it. Later, I'll show you how the beginning balance, as well as the values for the various fees and prizes, can be adjusted. The final task for the week involves archiving the current status of the program and then preparing a clean copy for use next week or any time in the future. Note that each report we generated this week, and there were 3 of them, appeared in its own newly created worksheet with its name showing its title, season, so and so. Sign in S7W26, winners S7W26, birds S7W26. The Cleanup and Archive button will first spin off a copy of the current file, including those weekly sheets. The name of the file will include the season and week. Then the program will erase those weekly sheets and save a clean copy of the file for you to start with next week. That covers our weekly work, but we need to talk a little bit more about file management. The Lady Putter scoring system application is designed to facilitate the documentation of each putter's scores, birds, and progress throughout the years. In order to provide those functions, it is designed to be user-friendly and flexible. But this also means that the application is somewhat delicate and can easily be damaged. Therefore, the user should continually be prepared to abort her current work and revert to a valid backup copy. Problems can arise from many causes. The program may have a bug that messes something up. You may enter some data incorrectly. Someone who provides input for you may discover that they have made an error, and then they provide you with the new corrected information. Or anything else can happen, things that we can't even think of now. When you discover a problem has arisen, you are almost always better off starting over. You can try to fudge a result or to change a number here and hope that it will turn up correctly over there. But that usually just wastes time now, and even worse, leads to more problems in the future. Much better to start over. But to start over, you need a place to start from. You can just save the original copy of the application in a safe place. Then if you find you have a problem anytime during the year, you can always go back to the start of the year and do all the work over again. But that might be a lot of work. Personally, I prefer to save a copy of my work each week. Then if I find that I messed up this week, I just go back to last week's copy and only need to redo 1 week's work. Or if I find that something messed up my work for the last 3 weeks, I retrieve my copy from 4 weeks ago and work forward from there. Let me illustrate how this would work. At the start of the season, we lead off with a copy of the latest version of the LPSS program on our desktop. What I like to do then is to set up a folder on the desktop labeled LPSS archive folder for the current year. Take a copy of this, copy it into that folder, make another copy and put it into another place, an external file of some kind. It might be a file in the cloud, it might be on your thumb drive, which you put in a fireproof safe in your garage, or it might be a CD or whatever that you give to your granddaughter who lives in a different city. But someplace where it will be there even if your house burns down. That gets us in a position to begin the season. The last thing I do before the season starts is to take the copy on the desktop and change it from its original title to LPSS Working with the original date. I like to use the files that I update all the time, whatever. I like to keep the current copy labeled Working, so I know that it's the one, it's my master file for the current time. We start our season. We have our first tournament on the first Wednesday, and we end up with a archived file called LPSS S8W1, Season 8, Week 1. I like to take that file off the desktop and put it into our archive folder. I also like to take that copy of that file and to put it into our folder, which is off-site someplace. Same for week 2. Same for week 3. Same for week 4. But let's assume that as we're working on week 4, or after we finished work on week 4, we see that something was fishy about it, that something went wrong someplace, and we need to fix it. We can try to fix it, we can waste lots of time and lots of energy, or we can just start over and do week 4's work over again. The way to do that is to go back here. If that was a good week, if we're confident that our program was working well in week 3, we take a copy of that file, we put it on our desktop, and before we do anything, we change the name of it now from Archived Season 8 Week 3 to LPSS Working File, and we call it November 15th, 2017. Then we go through, we do our week's work again, and we get a new, hopefully valid, archived file for that week. We put a copy of this file into our Safe Place folder. Then we move on to week 5 using our new working master file. Archive a copy, our folder on the desktop, and to our offsite folder. Now let's look at the other actions in our program, those actions that won't necessarily be performed every week. We group them into 3 categories. The first is occasional tasks. Those are things like adding new members, deleting members, recomputing handicaps. Second group is end of season tasks. The Lady Putters have a banquet at the end of the season, a party, where they give out awards. And some of those awards require actions by our program. They give an award for the best average score throughout the season. They give an award for the most birds accumulated throughout the season. And they give an award for best attendance at their events throughout the season. All of those we have actions for. And finally, at the end of one season, we need to prepare for the next season. We need to swap out one drop-down menu for another. We need to put in a new template for the new year. We'll go through these one by one. First, the occasional tasks. Let's update the handicaps. This is a rather involved procedure. For each lady, we look at the last 10 scores she posted over this season and back into last season if necessary. Out of those last 10 scores, we pick her best 5. We take the average of those. Then we subtract from that the par for the putting course. That gives us her handicap. Here's the list. Last 10 scores, number of plays, 10, 10, 10, 2. Handicap, 3, 10, 6, 9. After we get the handicaps, the ladies are categorized into flights. Flight 1 contains the lowest handicap players, Flight 2 and then Flight 3. Flight 5 is reserved for those players who have not accumulated up to 5 scores. Have to have 5 scores that count. We only take 10 into account. Back to page 3. Let's print some weekly assignment and score sheets. This is for Flight 1. The ladies have 2 plays each Wednesday, an early play and a later play, A and B. When they check in, they're assigned to one or the other, depending upon the time that they check in. gives their handicaps a place where their scores and birds can be documented. Also in the occasional tasks are the roster and cash management actions. Now let's enter some new members and perhaps pay some dues. You can't play until you've paid. Here I've already put in names of 5 members. Two of them are new members and 3 of them are old members who are repaying their dues for the coming year. First name, last name, check number, the amount of their check. Press here. Now this program has done 2 things. First, it has taken those names and those dollars and entered them into a dues worksheet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, check numbers, dollar amounts, cumulative counting of the funds on hand, and a place to note the deposit of those funds if that occurs. The second thing that action did was added the names and the payment record to the database. It added the names one by one to the bottom down here, and then when it was finished with all 5, or however many there were in that batch, it resorts the entire database to get them back up where they belong. Finally here, let's look at how we remove old members, people who have left the club. This action takes us to the working data sheet where the list of names, it's unlocked now. So to delete a name, what you do is you go find the name, select that row, right click, and then press delete. It deletes that row, that name, and all the information for that player. Again, we find the name, select that row, right click, click on delete. That takes them out of our database. And that finishes up with our occasional tasks. The end of season tasks, there are 1, 2, 3, 4 plus 1, 5 here. The first one is to print the summary scores for the season to see who has the best average. Gives you the scores. At the end, their average and their number of times they played. Average score by flights, similar report. Print roster sorted by attendance. Print roster sorted by birds. Total number of birds for the place. Marilee Morgan had 30 birdies. She averaged a little bit more than 1 a week. That takes care of our end of season tasks. Also, sometimes, perhaps at the end of the season, perhaps at some other time, the board of directors may decide that their financial parameters or their allocation of handicaps into flights need to be changed in some way. We have a form for that. Here in this first column is the current values. These come in and are fixed in this sheet. Over here is the desired values. Beginning balance is now $200. You want to change that, you click over here and put in the different amount. Yearly dues 30. Weekly fee to pay 3. Winners receive 5. Runners up receive 4. Each bird receives 2. To change any of those, you just enter the desired amount over here. And then click here. And then those values are put into your, let's see where it is here. Put into your financial parameters and your flighting parameters here. This is on the parameters worksheet. Let's get back out of here. That takes care of our occasional tasks, our end of season tasks. At the end of a season, we have to change a number of things to get ready for the new season. Page 5 helps us with that. The current past season was season 7, covering years 2016 and 2017. Select the new season. Here's a drop down with all of our seasons from 2010, 2011 to 2029, 2030 on it. We want to get ready for the 2017-2018 season. Press here, and magic, it's happened. This is our new updated welcome sheet, the 2017-2018 season, week 1, November 1. This is the drop down for this season from November 1 down through May 23rd, 2018. And if we look at our working sheet, and let me expand this so we can see it. Here's our 109 columns now. Again, all the names, current handicaps, current flights, whether they're paid up or not. Now in this first position here, columns devoted to last year's scores. The second 40 columns provide spaces for scores for the 2017-2018 season, followed by another 40 columns which contain the birds for the current season now. After we've done those actions, when we go in, another thing to check is to record scores and birds for the first week. We're on week 1 of the new season. Here we are. We're in this blank template now. We've got room for scores and birds. November 1st, record a score, record a bird. For Kath, to record a score, a bird. Beverly, record a score, a bird, on down. Finished with entering scores and birds, press here. Remember, after data entry, we have to press here to unlock the other columns. Back to the beginning. That's an overview of the major attributes of version 3 of the Lady Putter scoring system. I thank you for your patience.